Hey, welcome back. It is Monday, the 21st of August, 2023, here in the Gilbertson Aero Factory. I had a pretty ambitious plan for today, which is to do hundreds of boring countersinks and completely finish up all the countersinking that needs to be done on these main spars for the fitting of the leading edges and the top skins. However, it's almost 6:30 p.m. and I have wasted maybe almost the entire day dealing with government paperwork, which is necessary for me to do the job that I do. But man, that's frustrating. So we'll see how many countersinks we get done here. I feel like today is just one of those put down your head and do some work kind of days. So we'll get as far as we get. There's always tomorrow. Anyways, yeah, that's enough. Too much government paperwork, too many countersinks, but we're gonna build an airplane nonetheless.
Okay, episode 95, Wings 24, countersink part, who knows. Here I am working on those ones that need to be countersunk for a rivet and not for a dimpled skin. And coming up here, here's a closer look at it. So that flange of the rib has two rivet holes, one that will go to the bottom skin, one that will go where the fuel tank is right there. That will be covered on either side of those are the screw holes. So that one has to be countersunk for, we've talked about it so much, but I figured you deserved a better look at it. So that's what I'm starting with here on both the upper and lower portion of the left wing main spar flange is getting all of those ones done. And then I'll come back around to the lower side, which is the inboard portion as we look at it here, and start working on all of those countersinks that need to be done for the dimpled skin of the leading edges, which of course, as we talked about before, is the top row. I'm a little bit busy on my phone today because it's kind of an exciting day. I know I was complaining about all that government paperwork, and I'll never stop complaining about that stuff. But today is the day that my oldest daughter is flying off to France to study abroad, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Starting her junior year at Cal Berkeley, and yeah, I'm just really impressed by what she's been able to accomplish. Still shy of her 20th birthday, so yeah, you might see me go back and forth on my phone a couple of times. So now I have switched to the air drill and the other countersink cage is set up for the dimple. I do absolutely love having two countersink cages, and especially if you go back to the very beginning of the wings construction back in May, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you did, you might recall that I said that there are like 1,120 countersinks that need to be done on these spars. It's a lot, man. And they're not all the same size. So having more than one countersink cage and having them set up so that you can kind of get through an entire work session without having to switch gears. You can do different depths, different types of countersinks without having to go through that whole process of recalibrating, so to speak. So I'm working my way down the line here and probably occasionally glancing up at the TV because it's an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond that I haven't seen before. So I didn't think there was such a thing. Okay. This process has become pretty routine at this point, but it's not intuitive, I guess I would say. Meaning, even though this cage controls the depth at which you're going to set the countersink, and that the cage, the bottom of it is nice and flat, so you should be able to get a pretty good chance that you're going to be perpendicular to the material unless you're overhanging an edge. In this case, we're not. So it should go really flat. That being said, that air drill is really nice. It's really light, but it's also designed to go at 4,000 RPM, which for a lot of applications it's great, but it's not necessarily perfect, in my opinion, for countersinking. I've found that if you just drop the hammer and go full throttle on that thing, even though the pilot is centered and everything like that, you'll still end up getting some chatter and it'll make you pretty uncomfortable. So coming up here in a moment, I'll do a little bit more of a close-up so you can see the process that works for me in terms of like my approach to the speed and pressure involved in doing this in a way that's going to give me a minimal amount of chatter and a cleaner hull. So it might be a little bit loud. I wanted to keep as much as of the actual audio in this clip so you can kind of hear the speed of the drill, but low enough that I can talk over it. So here we go. Again, these pilots, the pilot of this thing fits this one exactly, but you can hopefully tell that I'm starting pretty slow. And I'm letting the pilot get centered, and also as it starts to cut, adding some pressure so that it can start to cut, and so that those flutes can kind of get seated in the countersink and work their way slowly in. And then you'll probably be able to hear the drill accelerating as the hole sort of cleans up and it gets closer to the final depth. It's kind of a slow process. You want to just be able to plunge it in there and go full throttle and boom, 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 knock them out. But you'll end up with some odd-shaped countersinks. They won't be too deep, but they might not be the right dimensions all the way around. So therefore, do it this way. This goes way back to an earlier rule that I created for myself, which is to creep up slowly on a critical cut. And that's kind of this. Give the countersink an opportunity to get centered and to form a really round cut before you start increasing the speed. With an air drill, it can be difficult to have that fine of control with the trigger, because the trigger doesn't have a really long travel, but you play around with it a little bit and you'll find the way. And so for me, it is to get the pilot centered but not apply very much pressure at all. If you apply a lot of pressure and try to pull the trigger is going to want to break to full trigger because it takes some force to get it moving if you're applying a lot of pressure. So start with really light pressure so you can just get the bit moving, and then start applying pressure, keeping the speed relatively slow. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. So I kind of let this run out for a little bit so you can see kind of how it works. But we're coming up here on, believe it or not, I know I started late, but at this point I thought, you know what, I'm making decent time and I feel pretty good. It's not too hot in here. Maybe I'll just go ahead and do all of the, 500 countersinks that are remaining on this spar. And then as I get to the end, and to the end I mean towards the outboard end, the last handful of countersinks, I start thinking about that lower row. You see that I'm not countersinking them because I said I wanted to wait until the bottom skins have been fitted before I countersink them, and that can wait. Yeah, okay. A picture's coming up here, and this will explain really well why I realized that I have to do all of the 1.9 billion countersinks before I can attach the before I can attach anything, before I can attach the leading edges to these wing spars. You can kind of see it right now, or in the previous clip. The countersink cage is maybe an inch in diameter. I've never really measured it, but maybe an inch in diameter. But the point is this. You can see that if I came back later after those wing skin, the leading edges were riveted in place, I wouldn't be able to get the countersink cage to fit flush on those lower holes. It would overlap the skin. Therefore, here you can see what I'm talking about. So the skin at the top of that cage, that's the skin would be right there. In fact, it would be much closer. It'd be all the way down there. I don't know what I was thinking. Those countersinks look good, but I don't know what I was thinking. There's no way that you can countersink those after the skin or after the leading edges are attached. Therefore, that kind of took the piss out of me. Called it a night. I'll get into doing a little bit of cleanup here, get on with my life, and we'll tackle this later. That just means, look, it doesn't change the timeline in terms of like the length of the wing construction. It just changes the timeline for what I had thought that I would be able to get accomplished by the end of this week. But if you saw all 4 weeks of the wing construction, you know it's not the first time that happened. Yeah. Anyways. So, you know, in the plans, it doesn't say yet to fit I'll look at them again, but at this point, I don't think it said to do the fitting of the bottom skins. But like I said, I don't want to countersink those holes until the bottom skins have been fitted, because I want to final size drill those holes or ream those holes with the skins attached. So I guess that's what I'll be doing next. Before I do anything else, I'll get to the bottom skins all fitted. It won't take that long, but I'll get that done, then get back into this. Thanks for being here.